Hi, folks, and welcome to Film Optimists, where we talk about all things film with a healthy dose of optimism. I'm your co-host, Seth Boyd,
I am Megan Tierney.
and today we are joined once again by our most illustrious guest to date to history, because it can't be better than this, my lovely wife, Ann Boyd.
Hi, I'm here too.
Yes, and we're so excited to have you.
Yes, very excited to have you back. And
Mhm.
last time, Ann, you were on, we talked about a movie still in theaters, which was great. We're now really going the opposite direction. A movie that came out nearly 90 years ago. So
Wow. Oh my
we have
God.
yeah, this came out to the 1934. So
That's
we're
really
creeping
weird
up
to think
on
about.
it,
Yeah.
isn't it? It is. And I think we've talked about old movies, and we've talked about the idea of old movies quite a bit. This is,
Mhm.
by at least 10 years, I think, the oldest movie we've talked about
I was just
so
gonna say that. I
far.
think so, Seth.
Who knows? If this goes well, we might do a silent movie. We might really kick it old school. But we're talking about The Thin
Ooh.
Man from 1934.
Mm.
So Megan, as always, I'm going to ask if you had any familiarity with this movie. It's a little bit of I would say, somewhat niche for modern audiences, but
Sure.
oddly, Ann and I both grew up watching this movie. So we'll get
Oh,
into
that's
that.
nice.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll get into that in a moment, but
Mhm.
I was very surprised by that came out early in our dating. That you knew what this was and had seen it. And every now and then there'll be a thing in pop culture that references Nick and Nora as a couple, and
Okay.
there's like that early aughts
Nick
movie,
and
Nora's Infinite
oh, there's
Playlist, right?
yeah. I just thought of
And
that.
I mean, our wedding rings are Nick and Nora rings. And so not that we were
Really?
completely obsessed with this movie to be buying
Yes.
like merch on that level, but like it seems to be a thing
They're
culture's aware of to some degree.
Wait.
decoratively simple.
They are,
fans.
yeah.
Yes.
My
Yes.
martini
It was
glass here is a Nick and
specifically
Nora
like Nick
glass.
and Nora.
Yeah,
Yes.
So-
That wasn't the deciding factor, but
right.
that was-
It was, they were rings we already liked.
yes.
But what I'm getting at is being homeschooled and watching old movies, I don't really have a frame of
Mhm.
reference for if this is a movie people have heard about, unless they were also had older parents or something,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like this is not Casablanca, this is not Vertigo.
Right.
So yeah, had you heard of this? Did you have any preconceived notions?
Well, Seth, and in true film optimist fashion, I had not.
I promise
I
I'm not
feel like
asking to set you up to say that every episode.
well, it just keeps happening, Seth, but no, it's okay. And I feel like, I mean, well, even for like the general zeitgeist, I feel like I have like older parents too, and
Yeah.
we would watch old movies and stuff. And I have older grandparents, of course, and they were into
Right.
film a lot. But even like seeing the title, I kind of thought of like a universal like monster
Like a
flick
monster,
or
the
something.
Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, the Thin Man.
I really thought of the Invisible Man a lot, but
Yeah.
but now it's not
That's
that, and we can get into what it is.
Yeah.
But I had not heard of it, and also like stylistically, I hadn't heard really of like the style of the director and like how very tonally specific this one is, which I really enjoyed. So that's probably going to be like my biggest takeaway from it is just how well, we could say like it is a basically a whodunit, a detective story setting in wintertime, but it's very I would say it's extremely comedic also.
Yes.
And it kind of bends that genre on its head, especially from what I knew of like noirs at the time or anything like that, which is very detective based. So it was very genre bending for me in that way too. So that was kind of my and probably will be my biggest takeaway from it. But I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about it.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you mentioned genre bending, because that's something we were literally just talking about. Because like to me, like the mood of it works so well. And you just said, you kind of hit it on the nose of like what we're saying about it being a mystery, but don't watch it necessarily for that.
Yeah, because it is a whodunit and it is literally starring a detective solving a mystery, but
Yes.
it's so much more about the character interactions and kind of the shenanigans everyone's getting up to, that the mystery itself and the plot is kind of secondary to that.
Yeah.
If you're really trying to sit down and watch it as like, okay, I gotta keep track of these 4 platinum blondes with the same Marcel hairstyle.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's tricky, but just watch it for the dialogue basically, and
Right.
side gags. It's pretty great.
Because it's maybe like my favorite romantic comedy, but there's no romantic comedy elements in this. Like you have a great couple.
Yeah.
But like there's no like,
Yes.
oh, are they gonna get together? There's no meet cute. They're already married, and they're already so into each other, and that's great.
Mhm.
I should also, you mentioned wintertime. This is actually our Christmas movie. I should have opened with that. This movie
Yes.
does take place over Christmas, so this is the
Mhm.
Christmas holiday pick, folks. But yeah, I think going back to you and I watching this together, and we had both grown up seeing it. We hadn't seen it in quite a while, and there is still, I hope it still exists in Oakland. I think it's just called the Video Room.
Yes, I think there's the last vestiges of it
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
Avenue.
Yeah, a video rental store that we used to
Mhm.
go to often. And I think we were either had recently been disappointed in trying to get into French New Wave movies and watching Goddard movies, which I've been open about, not a fan of. French New Wave is great, just don't like his movies. Like the female characters just have like no personality.
Sure.
And we were between that and between modern recent movies, just kind of really wanting like a woman with some gumption, you know, some stuff. And we were, I think, really craving Myrna Loy, and we're like, oh, let's just get this. And it was so great. And I think that's not a thing you'd expect in watching an old movie as a modern audience. It's like, oh, if I want to see a great female actress performance, I need to watch 30s movies. But I think that's really true.
Oh.
American 30 movies
Well,
is a great time for that.
I agree with you too that it was like a great couple, married couple at that, and like both of them were just so fun to watch, like really, really very, very like specific characterization of them to of their relationship too, but it was like so endearing too. I think we maybe don't see that nowadays, or
Yeah.
marriages now get very like weird in cinema sometimes, or just very like bleak and like
Yeah.
sad. And this one was so happy and like wonderful. So I do want to talk about too.
Absolutely. I think that's a great starting point, actually, because like you were saying, man, like there is a great mystery here, but this is just watching one of the most fun couples on film.
Yeah.
You know,
And sorry, were you guys married at the time? Or you were dating at the time?
we were dating at the time when we first
You were
I mean,
dating.
we were both like grew up familiar with this, but when we rewatched it as a couple, I think we were dating.
Okay.
A few years ago, but
Yeah. But I own the box set, you know. Since, I think there's 5
Mega
of these
fan.
movies, and honestly, they're
Yeah.
all great. You know, I'm just gonna touch on this real quick. This is another thing I miss about movies from this era. William Powell, who's Nick Charles, and
Yes,
Nora Loy,
yes.
who's Nora. They were in 14 movies together.
Oh
They were
wow. Oh, that's nice.
and not so like 5 of them are these movies, but in the year 1934 alone, they were in 4 movies. And they actually, I don't think, ever dated. They were just really like, they were close, but they were just really great together. And I cannot think of anything that's close to that era of Hollywood. It's like we want to see the same people together a lot.
Yes.
to be fair, studio system, not perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
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 The volume of movies that were made is pretty
It's impressive, and like
Yeah.
this movie was made in 2 weeks, you know, and
Oh my
there's just no major special effects. You know, you kind of just showed up, you made this movie. We're gonna get into the
Yep.
we were both, you were telling me a lot about the director that I wasn't familiar with, but
Google search.
Yes.
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 but I think we'll touch on that more, because just kind of keep that in mind. That's a thing that I think we're maybe missing in our current film system, is like I can't
Yeah.
even think about like an on-screen couple. Like the most recent that comes to mind that people tried to make a thing is Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and they've only been in 3 movies together,
Yeah, that's a good
and
example.
that's over like 10 years or something, right? So it's not like this is a surefire, and one of those movies nobody knows exists. It just kind of came and went, you know. So let's talk about what the hell this movie actually is.
Yes.
Megan, do you want to do the honors?
Of just the general plot?
Yeah.
Sure. It's
If you want, I
quite
can also do it. I
simple.
put you on the spot there. Sorry.
Yes. Well, my thing is guys, I'm terrible with like names.
Okay.
Like with very simple names, but I know the detective, our main character's name is Nick, and there has been a murder basically. I was trying to we don't see it. I was trying to like again, sorry guys, I was like to pull back a little bit. I was like in the middle of a move also for listeners, which is a little bit of a trying time, just difficult things going here and there. So I
We're
probably watched
alternating
this
in our
like
moves. Yeah.
yes, I probably watched this like a little sleepily, but anywho's still really fun. So
Good.
much fun actually. But there is a murder where it actually is a whodunit. So we don't see who done it. And then we're taking on the ride of like who to solve it, basically, with this detective that happenstance like perfectly knows a lot of pieces of the puzzle of who has committed this murder, basically. So very fun, and I would say too, like, character driven detective story. It's not bleak in the slightest, or if you will, or like or film noirish at all. It was kind of like rompy, like rom-commy almost.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. And I think an important detail is that he's a retired detective who his wife is always wanting to go back to being a detective, and that's an important part of their dynamic. Is he was a Pinkerton, which Dashiell Hammett, the author of the novel, was actually a Pinkerton detective, and like he wrote Maltese Falcon, a lot of things that were turned into noirs, but like was a pulp writer. So you have this kind of very working class guy who marries a fabulously gorgeous and fabulously wealthy woman who very much wants him to come out of retirement and be a detective. And, you know, over the course of the movie, he reluctantly just knows enough of the victims and everything and kind of has to, which is, I do like the reluctant detective trope. You know, he's not Poirot or Sherlock just waiting for something interesting to happen. He's like, I want to spend some money. Maybe my favorite character intro of all time for both of them back to back. For any characters, do you want to describe it there?
I believe, and I looked this up because I wanted to have more to say about the movie other than like, I kind of liked it. I know about how it was made. But apparently the director, Van Dyke, was known for doing most of his shooting. He tried to get it in one take because he really wanted it to be spontaneous and natural and like high energy, and felt that kind of gets lost after even the second take. So apparently,
the absolute opposite of Kubrick.
Yes, the Stanley Kubrick. Our character Nick Charles is introduced, and it's kind of a fun, like, people are parting to almost kind of let the camera through, and you're approaching him from behind. And he's explaining how to mix a martini to the bartender.
To like four bartenders.
To like four bartenders. It's kind of like doing a little like dancing in place and explaining how is it set?
It's all about rhythm and a martini.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Martini's always
loved that.
And these guys are kind of standing around politely, but they're not fully enjoying his they're humoring him, but they clearly have other things to do than to watch a drunk
it's
man.
One of those customers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like he's gonna tip, but yeah.
But apparently, I did not know this. Supposedly, Van Dyke told William Powell, "Oh, let's just rehearse this scene," and then filmed that rehearsal as the take because he liked it or just felt, yeah, that's it. We got it. And I love that introduction to the character. And then very shortly after, we're introduced to Nora being dragged in with her dog, and she's carrying parcels and she's tripping and literally can we swear on this podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
She just like eats shit on the floor, like just falls flat.
That
on
was
her
fun.
Dog and dropping things.
Yeah.
And it's helped up and has a cute little quip to like kind of get back to it.
Yeah.
And I love that introduction to this very like poised, charismatic, beautiful young woman is
that's right
down and like bumbling basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like a last minute direction, wasn't it, for her to?
Yes, with the last minute things too. Apparently the director said, hey, when you enter the scene, you should fall. That's what she did. And
no more than that.
Yeah.
She nailed it.
Another one take. So yeah, I love you're introduced to the heroes who are going to solve a murder that ends up involving 3 people, you know, and is like talk of the town. There's concerned there's a serial killer.
They're just kind of goofing.
They're just kind of mostly goofing off and mostly want to drink. That's another weird like kind of
that's right
about this movie. They're constantly drinking, especially.
I was like, are they okay?
Right. It's a very odd.
There may be
well, you know, we talked a little bit previously about the Hays Code.
Yes,
the morals code. This movie was released like a week before that went into effect. So this movie in particular has a lot of that.
It has some spicy elements.
There's some spicy things to it that are kind of surprising, but still, like that code being deeply enforced is more of a later 40s, 50s thing, to my understanding. So even the sequels still have a surprising amount of very casual drinking. There's never like somebody's a problem. You know, you have many scenes of drunk parties that look like parties I'd actually love to be at. You know, complete with a guy just crying in the corner by the Christmas tree.
Well, it was funny. Yes, it was a lot of like drunken scenery specifically, and also just like women. I mean, obviously women holding their liquor, Nora holding her liquor, kind of because she goes to bed with a headache, and like the husband taking care of her. I thought that was really sweet and kind of honestly imagery that I hadn't seen in like these kinds of old movies myself. So that was
That's a good point. You don't see a husband like being nice to his wife.
Well, honestly, yes,
right.
Basically. And just like having fun, you know, that energy, it was kind of like youthful energy too of married couples instead of being old, like stuffy, you know, couples or something like that.
They're very youthful couple.
They really are.
Yeah.
And apparently even he's like kind of older. He's supposed to be like portrayed as being a little bit older is what I thought, but it doesn't. He's youthful. He's very youthful.
No, we were out talking about it because I can't tell if they actually put a little bit of gray in his hair. We were
I couldn't tell if it was just super shiny or just a little bit.
Well, like I don't know. This isn't quite like the Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, where he was like 40 and she was 17 in their first movie or something. Like they were closer in age and equals, you know. But this isn't a very important question. Do you find William Powell, who plays Nick Charles, handsome?
So, well, I agree that it's kind of like a polarizing thing almost. Well, to me, he also kind of reminded me of Walt Disney a little bit.
Oh, I
like
can see it with the mustache.
Walt Disney.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, if you squint, I was getting Disney a lot. So I don't know. I'm not like particularly attracted to Walt Disney. But
I was gonna say, I feel like you're about to confess something.
I know. No, promise no. Maybe like very early Disney, but no,
right.
Not particularly. But I think I was kind of more distracted by that. But his character was so infectious for me. Like I was really like taken by him. So I think that it was more that like just his characterization was so infectious and fun. And I like the very just casual demeanor, I guess. And that was so fun for me.
I think that's part of the dynamic that works so well is that Nick Charles, William Powell's character, is pretty goofy and pretty silly most of the time.
Yeah.
And Nora's almost like the straight man in the comedy dynamic there, of she's reacting to him and kind of egging him on, but the one who's making the sarcastic comments and kind of rolling her eyes. Yeah,
like there's multiple scenes of them just like making faces at each other while like somebody else, a third person is on the phone or something, and they're literally just like poking like siblings, and it's hilarious. And
a lot of teasing.
So, and same question: is William Powell attractive?
I think he is very handsome, but I've seen many more movies with him as the starring role. Yeah. So I don't have the Walt Disney imagery as much. I think
right.
In the background, they're like, but I think he's very handsome. I think that's part of his charisma. I think he does have like those really large eyes and the dark lashes, and like the little mustache.
Yeah.
I think his own biographer, if I remember reading right, described him as homely, which is very harsh. He's not.
Right?
Like
maybe just like an everyday man. Or like an everyman kind of thing.
But he's also like, he's such a charming, suave person. Even though he's bumbling in this, he's still like, he's in a tuxedo holding a martini glass and looks very put together and carries himself very well. And is also outwitting people. You know, he is the smart one.
That's it. I mean, I was gonna say, like, wit will always win me over too. So that carried it basically for me, his characterization.
I think it's also like, because Anne and I will enjoy watching bad movies. This movie really gets what's charming about a man who is joking constantly, and particularly joking with and teasing a woman, you know, because like they're on the same level, whereas like so many bad movies, like this guy's being an asshole and we're supposed to think this is charming, you know. And this movie just works so well on this. It's like it's well, actually you were telling me it's a husband and wife who wrote the screenplay.
Yes, so apparently it was a husband and wife duo that adapted the novel into a screenplay, and that really tracks for me with how they nailed.
And
obviously, Mryna and William Powell have such great chemistry that kind of makes them. But the way the dialogue is written and these little interactions and the way they have this affection for each other, I think really shines through.
Absolutely.
My gosh, that's so sweet. Oh my, that makes me really happy just for writers in general. Like, and the affection is like perfect almost for me. Like I really, and maybe, I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's the script. I think it's both obviously, but I think it's like a perfect script combination and a perfect like couple combination with their, because honestly, like their interactions really they're kind of important for me. Like as actors, I think there has to be that something there, and like there is something there, and it's just so infectious and fun. I that's what I really liked too.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I will say on the note of William Powell too, Seth, I am so sorry I'm blanking on the movie. But there's I don't know if it's a proper screwball comedy, but there's a very cute, very contrived plot of William Powell plays like this boring accountant or something. They
I'll
got
love you again.
I'll love you again. He's got his hair parted in the middle and this kind of weird fluffy mustache. It's kind of frumpy and like very dull.
Yeah.
And he gets a head injury and remembers suddenly his alternate personality of who he was before when he was like this suave, cool con man.
Yeah.
Comes back, so he like, gets cleaned up and becomes like charismatic and fun again.
It's great.
It's very funny.
And it's largely like he comes back to this town, realizes he's like the most boring guy, and he's married to Mryna, who's about to divorce him because he's the most boring guy. But there's like money to be made in this town, so he's a con man. So he wants to get the money, but he also wants to not be divorced from Mryna, and also ultimately has to choose. And but wins back this woman who's like, "Who the hell are you? You're a completely different person." A very contrived, perfect screwball comedy. Yeah.
See, that's so fun. I was also interested in like the well, I was I guess surprised is a better way to say, like that they included a lot of her versus him. Well, we have a perfect marriage almost seemingly in Nick and Nora, but then her family dynamics are all effed up and they have a split family, and she's very upset by it. And like they talk about you know, my freaking ex-wife over there or something in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, oh my, I just thought it was a little more scandalous than I had seen before.
That's a good point. It begins with a woman who's going to her father's workshop, and it's like, I want you to walk me down the aisle, even though, you know, we're divorced. Yes, mom will be there. It's okay. The stepfather isn't going to be there, you know. And it was like, oh, this is the first 5 minutes of dialogue. This is a much more complicated family situation than you get. And it's also it's that without feeling too gritty, and also without feeling like this is about, we're really going to talk about family dynamics. It's more just like a factor, and I appreciate that. You know, it's not here's the reality of the American family, you know, but it also was just the casualness, I think, of it adds to a surprising realism, you know, because he's like, I'll do it, but I don't want to see him, you know, and he has a mistress as well, and that's right. There's a lot of that kind of seediness involved. That's very fun.
Yeah, she's recently engaged too, so she's talking to this poor guy that's like marrying into this family, and and she says like, well, he had a secretary or something, wink wink, like hint at the audience, and he says like, I'll do all my own typing or something like that. that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was. There's a lot of witty. That's another good point. It's like as great as the main couple is, most characters are funny in this. Like most people get a great thing. You know, the cops are funny. You have some great classic 30s gangsters in here. You have some dames with quips, you know, and that's not just Mryna Loy.
So I would like to touch on, because this is a pre-code movie, the violence in the movie.
Yeah.
Because our main murder happens off screen and is discovered well after the fact. But you do have the scene of, I believe it's the ex-wife coming into the apartment and discovering the dead woman.
Yeah.
And there's not much blood, but there's just enough to let you know in this black and white movie that this person is dead, and they are dead in a non-natural way.
Yeah.
And you have the character's reaction and all that.
This was not an accident.
I thought like pretty startling scene of the man leaving the building and being shot in the back.
I agree.
On the street, there's screams and there's smoke, and it's like, whoa.
Because that's a really brief scene, but I think it's so violent because it's so brief. You know, like you have this guy betrayed, shot really quickly. Doing a pretty good death scene, you know.
He falls, you know.
And it's like 10 seconds or something, maybe even less. And that was jarring. It was actually more violent than I remembered, I think. With those sequences, you know, they have some descriptions, I think, a little bit more verbal about like the state of the bodies. Were a little bit more graphic than I remembered.
I thought
implied. Some implied
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Because I think it kind of raises the stakes in the movie too. Like, oh, there's actual danger here, and our characters could be facing that.
Yes. We have the great scene where he's actually about to go investigate by himself, he being Nick.
Right.
And you know, he's got the gun, he's got the flashlight, and he has the dog, Asic, fantastic dog. giving
Wonderful
Lassie
dog.
the money.
Yes.
Great dog actor here, but she says, "Be careful," and she's like, "You're gonna miss me." It's like, "Oh, it's just that I've gotten used to you." It's a very
I
cute, not gonna be too mushy, but also be safe.
But they're also like embracing while she
Yeah,
does it, too.
exactly.
It's so sweet. It really is. Like there's so many.
It
There's
is.
basically all their dialogue is like that, and it was
Yeah.
so fun to watch. There was some good like lines. I was like, damn, I gotta write that down.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's the whole. So, on the mystery aspect of it, Megan, how did this movie work for you as a mystery? Like, did you guess who was going to be the killer?
I actually didn't. I was totally along for the ride with it. That's what I was gonna say is like, while these characters are silly and fun and very charismatic, it never like made it so that they were unbelievable, I guess, in the danger coming up and stuff. And that really worked too. It was just that it felt very much like a great display of their personality coming out, and they happen to be in this profession of like being a detective or an ex-detective, if you will. But so that was just, I don't know, it was just very, very unique in that tone of it. And that's kind of what I like. Literally, I have never seen a detective or detective movie that's quite like this, and like tonally like this specifically, characterization like this specifically. So that was very fun. I'm used to like, the brooding detective. That's basically all I've seen. So this was really a breath of fresh air. Like I was so taken by it.
Now that we're talking about, I think it's one of the reasons why I like Knives Out so much, because that is a good mystery, but that's also very funny.
It reminded me of Knives Out.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a Mel Brooks funny spoof on it. It is a mystery, and it is funny in a way that I think totally works, because I didn't find this movie to be jarring.
No.
Did you, Megan? Because like we saw this quite a few times, but for you, was it kind of were you confused or more like pleasantly surprised by the tone throughout?
No, I'm very pleasantly surprised. Like I mean, I don't love brooding films so much. Like this is way more up my alley. And I was trying to like think of something that it reminded me of in today's age. It kind of reminded me of like dark comedies. Like I thought of like Silver Linings Playbook, which is it's difficult topic. It's not like murder going on or something, but it's like it's more like screwbally people that have good chemistry and are like just kind of naturally funny, or their situations are funny together. But tonally, I kind of honestly like this movie a little better. Like I like how I just like everything that we've been talking about. The characterization of it is so specific, and it's like these characters are so likable, and it just kind of happenstance follows along in this way that is just so pleasant. I don't know, I was just really taken by that aspect, and I hadn't seen it before.
Absolutely. It is still very unique, I think. What about you, Anne? As I mean, we already talked about it is more character than mystery, but how do you feel about the mystery part of it?
I think the mystery is fun, but it's kind of incidental to everything that's happening, I think, and even the ending. And I love a Agatha Christie style, all the suspects are in one room, and the detective spells out all their motives, and that's a favorite scene of mine always. But the very ending of the murderer like trying to pull the gun on Nick, and Lovely disarms him and knocks him down, and there he is. What's the line?
What do you want me to do? Wrap him in cellophane?
Like
oh, so good.
Such a great, like, do you want me to gift wrap him? Like, but that's almost like, and then it's over. It feels like, and then they're on the train celebrating, and it's like, okay, this horrible idea is over, and happy young couples, one newly married, one happily married, and that's kind of how the film ends. Is more of this is a romantic comedy. More of a romantic comedy than a mystery.
Absolutely.
It's very funny. Like you do have to suspend your disbelief, obviously, like in terms of their reactions, I guess, and like putting yourself in that place or something, especially nowadays. It's just, murder does not happen every day for us folk. So it was just like, it is funny, like their reaction thinking about it in present day, and just like you said, like hopping on a train. That's pretty funny.
It is also funny thinking about like even that scene we were just talking about, Anne, is kind of an inverse of how it normally goes, or at least it's like an updated version of it, because normally like Sherlock Holmes, Poirot, whoever knows who the murderer is and is still just kind of doing this to be dramatic. Nick doesn't actually know yet. He's even open about
He's
that.
kinda making it fun.
Yeah. And yeah, and him and Mryna Loy have a side like it's fucking Shakespeare or something where they're saying their own conversation. But he doesn't actually know yet. And she's like, is that true? He's like, well, it makes sense, I'm guessing. But I think that's what happened. And it ends up being great.
Versus the Sherlock like putting all the pieces together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Poirot, who he knows who the murderer is, he just has to make sure he has the evidence secured.
And wants to embarrass everybody
Wants
else.
to embarrass everybody.
Even
Yes.
weren't murderers. So yeah, I like this kind of, even in like the 30s, this felt like a fresh update twist on something that existed, and it was still being written largely. So
it's kind of like it wasn't super suspenseful for me. Like I was thinking, it reminded me of Rope, like where that that film that Seth and I talked about, I was totally like literally on the edge of my seat for the like for the plot line basically, but in this one I mean I was still on the edge, like it's not necessarily the edge of, like I was very like taken by it, but it wasn't a nail biter. In other words, it's just kind of like you're gonna see what happens, and that's fun too. Like it's fun in other ways basically.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think some of the other mysteries they have are better in the sequels, because there is also still like a major twist of, you know, this movie came out quite a while ago. If you're listening to this, hopefully you're going to watch it. But a major twist I want to reveal here is the person they think has been committing most of the killings is actually the first victim, and so that's cool. I think both of you are making me realizing something, because like these movies are going to be listed as a mystery, and their genre is going to be that, whether it's like, you know, organized on a streaming service or online or whatever. And maybe just like I'm not that into mysteries, like they're not the most important part of these movies to me. I like a whodunit, but I'm not usually actually trying to figure it out. It's more just like the other beats of it. I like the detective showing up the cop. I like, you know, talking to the seedy, shady informers, which this movie has a lot of, and that's one of the great things about Nora Charles is he's often still running into people who he busted who still love him. He's running into people like, oh, he sent me over the river, great guy, I'm at his party. You know, like that's most of the people at his parties. But I do think these movies should be maybe viewed more as great duo comedies, particularly when we're thinking about this era. Abbott and Costello and a lot of these other like comedy duos usually have a weird main movie plot happening around them that has nothing to do with it. Abbott and Costello, like most of these movies have a young married couple who will have musical numbers or who are pursuing each other that you don't give a shit about because you watched Jeanette Abbott and Costello movie. but studio systems in the time thought, well, we got to have a romance and attractive people in this movie. You know, so you have comedy duos shoehorned into their own movie. So this is a very strange change of that, because the hot couple is also the comedy duo. And it just works better. So advice for someone who's getting into 30 movies, that's hyper specific, but relevant.
No, I loved it. Like I just couldn't think of another married couple in film that I had seen that I like so much. That's not necessarily like seeing them get together or whatever. Like it was just so I think they are truly a duo.
Right. I think it's just like the Addams Family movies with
that's true. That's a good
Raul Julia and
I mean, there must be more. I just maybe don't know it, but it was so fun to see it from the 30s too, like just that. But I mean, like it is just not a thing that's done that often. We don't have a lot of happy couples and things. If we have even like a movie with a happy ending about a couple, it's about them realizing they love each other and getting back together. Yeah, you know. And this is maybe one of our more Puritan takes, Megan, but it's like it's actually kind of nice and refreshing to see a happy couple, especially like they're clearly into each other physically. You know, they clearly love each other. They're getting drunk together constantly, and they're solving murders. Like, who wouldn't want to be this couple? I know.
The movie ends with them in the train car embracing and kissing, and the dog puts the paw over the arm.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
The dog child.
Yes, exactly. It's great.
Oh, so good. So good.
I mean, this is also like a little bit of a shorter movie, and I don't think we need to go too off in the tangents to little details about it. One thing I will call out, though, the new suitor for you're referencing, the character Chris Jorgensen, that's played by a young Cesar Romero, who was the Joker in the 60s Batman TV show. So that's fun.
And he has a drink of water.
He's a very handsome man. Yeah. So the guy with the mustache who they're saying, like, why don't you go back to work, you know? that guy.
Oh, okay.
Who,
Oh,
He's
okay.
very much like the kept man.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So
Mhm.
young Caesar Romero, that's
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, I think what I was getting at is, Megan, I think we can probably move on to recommendations because this is a shorter movie and I think we've said a good amount
sure.
about it. That good with you?
Yeah, for sure. Can I say
Okay.
real quick, like,
Of course,
even for
closing
me,
thoughts all around. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like, well, we harped on like the couple a lot, but like literally for me, every single character in this is so they're really good. Like everybody's great in this, and I think it's not like they're put in kind of a box, even though they have very like specific characterizations. I guess I just think it's so fun to see personality, I guess, like so well written. I was trying to think of like a modern equivalent, but it's kind of hard. Like I think it's very hard to do like a big, this was kind of a more large cast, like actually. So to see like so many people kind of hitting it really good was so fun. And like I just thought everybody did such a great job, like actor wise too. So that was it was surprising to me how good it was, basically.
I agree. I mean, and maybe that's part of this is like you have like stock type characters that you don't have as much anymore. Like you have Gilbert, who is like 30s nerd, who's always having a big fucking book and using words that people think he's saying something dirty, but he's not, you know, and
He's just being like the weird inquisitive.
You're right.
younger brother.
And I love like one of the cops is really kind of freaked out by him, like backing against the wall. Can I see the body? I bet I can figure out this, you know.
He's kind of a dunce.
That's not right. Like kind of a dunce who's, you know, smart in a bookish way, but no real world value. You know?
Yes.
I think the bookish weird guy, which is sometimes a younger sister too. I feel like
that's true. Yeah.
Like that's just such a favorite character of mine. Of just other characters reacting to the weirdness and their fascination with whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have a lot of humor coming from everywhere in this movie, and I think even like you have pretty standard cartoonish version of a New York cop, but he's great. You know, he's fun. He's not offensive, you know, and it's you have the same with like you have mobsters, and these are great characters, and they're really they're all treated, I think, but there's a dignity to the fact that they all are funny, you know, they're all entertaining, they're all known as just the butt of the joke is that this person exists, you know, they all have a witty line to say, and they're all having their own quips, and I think that's really cool. All right, and closing thoughts on the movie.
Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to have closing.
Oh, sorry, you don't have to.
I know.
I think overall it's really fun. Again, I kind of almost think of it more as a romantic comedy than a mystery. My recommendation is actually going to be the sequel, which is
perfect segue. Go into it.
We can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
All the sequels to this movie, I think there's 4 or 5 total.
I think it's 5 total.
There's 5 of these movies total. They all have Thin Man somewhere in the title, even though the Thin Man in this movie refers to the missing person. That is the scientist, professor, I can't remember.
Inventor of some sort, yeah.
The man who was the first murder victim and who was missing, they actually refer to him. But because the studios needed a way to announce to audiences, hey, these characters are back in this fun movie, you should see it. They were like, it's also Thin Man. Which is not Wayne Powell's character, but you're gonna think it is.
But he's a thin man who's starring in this movie.
They did some Fast and Furious style title sequencing.
Too fast, too furious again.
Too thin, too man.
We got the name of the episode, Megan. Perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, my recommendation is the sequel after the Thin Man. The mystery to me is a little tighter and a little more interesting. Because it's one of Nora's cousins' husband is missing, and he's just a terrible philanderer, and everyone hates him, but also he's missing, and that's kind of concerning. Yeah. And it's a little more. It feels like they took all the best stuff from the Thin Man and just really dialed it in terms of like character and gags and kind of the fun mystery part of it. Yeah. Is it okay to spoil? Yeah, I know this movie came out like 80 years ago. Yeah. Okay. It also has Jimmy Stewart, who is beloved, and he plays the murderer, which is very fun because it's for most of the movie his boyish, aw shucks, sweet self, and just has this very seething, horrible side that he just nails in a really
It still gets me, like he's unhinged, and when it's really great.
And he's back against the wall. It's great.
The other important thing to note about this movie is it takes place like literally days afterwards. Like this movie, and the Thin Man ends with them getting on the train going to San Francisco. After the Thin Man, they've arrived in San Francisco in time for New Year's.
It's literally them packing up.
Yeah.
Train.
So which is another reason why we often watch these movies together, because it's a holiday thing. You know, you watch the Christmas movie, now let's watch the New Year's Eve movie. Yeah.
It's very fun.
But also we are, being Californians, partial to the ones in San Francisco.
Yes.
I will say big asterisk to this recommendation is because this is the 1930s and we're in San Francisco, we have to have a Chinese character speaking broken English. So huge asterisk for like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But overall, the movie is fun and the character is kind of minor, but also does get an extremely funny clip.
Yeah, I think the actor kind of brings some dignity to the role.
You can tell they're using the broken English they're given in the script, but they are speaking in this beautiful, operatic, perfect American English.
Yeah.
So they're not doing the Charlie Chan accent.
Yeah.
And I got the impression, like, no, they were not going to do that.
Yeah. This actor is cool. I think we should bring it. That actually brings up something we should note on the original movie that we're talking about, The Thin Man. James Wong Howe was the cinematographer, a Chinese American man, a major innovator for cinematography, someone we still talk about. Books are written about this guy, won the Oscar for cinematography, created a lot of things, including the dolly, you know, so a pretty important dude.
Oh my God.
Right.
So important to highlight him. Also.
Important to highlight him. So yeah, great people worked behind this first movie.
Editing was really good too. I don't know.
The editing was
sure
great.
The editor. Subtle, but like a little technical, if you will. No effects or anything like Seth said, but
right.
It was good. I liked it.
Robert Jane Kern was the editor.
There we go.
He also did Gone with the Wind. So
okay.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's another great thing about this era of movies. People often say this about Casablanca. I think, including we've said this. Casablanca just happens to be a great movie. Like no one sought out to make the perfect movie and they made Casablanca. It was a studio movie. We show up, we do our job, we're gone at 5.
We turn this out.
And it ends up being one of the most classic movies. Everyone in there was talented, was a good professional, and it's still like widely considered one of the greatest movies, especially American movies. And that happened a lot more often than we think. You know, sometimes you made Gone with the Wind, sometimes you made The Thin Man, which is a great movie, maybe not to that caliber, but it's the same people working on them. You know, it's not quite the full auteur thing that we got into later.
I really agree.
Yeah. And there's something really
cool
about that.
I feel like it's like people nowadays, or directors maybe nowadays, tend to seek out like this will be an Oscar nom or something like that, before the movie making process, and it's just not organic. Like that's not how it happens. So like I appreciate you saying that. I that is cool. Like that's a cool aspect of old film that we gotta harp on more. I feel like
I agree. And again, to bring it back to stuff we're often talking about, like it's really cool if this movie was made in 2 weeks, is 90 minutes.
And that's insane.
Exactly. And like made a killing because it was a cheap enough movie that they made. There's actually 6 movies total. It's like I really like, you can't really do that. You can't crank out sequels to things that are just a fun romp time.
You can't make originals.
Exactly. Right.
Yes.
And sequels like this, it's like, it's really strange to think about. Before the MCU got to what it was, there were so many articles talking about how we have too many sequels for things that weren't superhero movies.
Exactly.
And too many remakes. And the fucking new Top Gun movie is cited as this cure to MCU movies, which I didn't see. Like, this is very odd to me that we're all really excited about like a prequel, sequel, or whatever the hell it is. Or we're talking about the new Avatar movie just because it's not a superhero thing. And I just miss that climate when The Thin Man can just be cranked out in 2 weeks and everyone's happy. And that's enough for all these people to remain being employed. Okay, you got your recommendation, and you got my tangent. Megan, do you have a recommendation for us?
I kind of do, yes. You mentioned silent film, Seth, which it actually kind of reminded me. It almost was like it felt like this was one tinge off. It almost could have been like a silent film, in other words, is what I'm trying to say. Like I could almost like picture it that way. And I really, so in true Megan fashion as well, I feel like I have recommended this before. So sorry. I guess I'm just gonna have to do it again, because I'm gonna recommend The Artist, which is a new film. It was like 2012, I believe so too.
I guess too.
It's a completely silent film made in the modern era, but the characterization, well, I mean, obviously silent film, you kind of have to like really, really rely on characterization without speaking. So it does it so well. I think it's very fun for like the holidays. It's not specifically a Christmas movie at all, but it is set in like LA. So there's glamour and like Hollywood isms going on in there. That's basically what it's about. It's about a girl like trying to get to stardom in Hollywood, like very classic, Hollywood movie trope. But actual cinematic practices, silent film cinematic practices used, like they were very religious to the art of it all, and it's really incredible looking. I think it's a good like cozy holiday movie too, if you want. Again, not Christmas, but it feels very glamorous, like end of year fun. So I really recommend it.
Great recommend, and fully agree. I love the artists, and
I know it's so beautiful.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'll take the artist over any version of A Star Is Born, because it's kind of the same, got a little bit of a different focus. And it can sound gimmicky to do that, but it's like no, it's really good, I strongly encourage people to give that movie a watch, and then frankly go watch a old original silent movie afterwards, because these movies are better than expect.
Also great dog actor.
Yes, that's great. That's a great point. Great dog actor. Okay, really I'm going to do my recommendation is going to be another William Powell, Mryna Loy movie that we just watched. I think I watched a long time ago. We watched it together. Libeled Lady. This is a 1936 full-on screwball. We have William Powell, Mryna Loy, also Jean Harlow and Spencer Tracy. And this is
special shout out to Jean Harlow.
Yes, she died very young. Yeah, and
that was just want to add to that was William Powell's unofficial fiance before she passed very unexpectedly from
failure.
Yeah, she died at 26.
She was 26.
Whoa.
Yeah. Sad story.
Wanted to mention that too, that she was like also a fabulous actor.
Which is odd because like they're in this movie together and they were a couple, but again, this is a William Powell and Mryna Loy, the couple in this movie. But this is there was a time too in the 30s that maybe ended in the 50s where like a lot of movies were about newspapers, and the movies about newspapers were almost exclusively about the society papers. And this is basically a paper is about to get sued horribly because they accidentally printed that an heiress was having an affair, and the heiress is Mryna Loy. And so to not have to pay, they're trying to countersue by catching her having an affair with a married man. So William Powell gets married very quickly to Spencer Tracy's actual fiance, who's very unhappy about it because she just wants to marry her actual fiance.
I see.
And then has to seduce Mryna Loy so that they're seen in a room together and can say, well, he's a married man. So it's a very convoluted, in a way that these screwball comedies are somehow more complicated than the mysteries.
That's fun.
It's fun, and it's a lot of it is the reluctant coming together. But of course, who can resist William Powell? And it's another movie that like, even in the last like 5 minutes, there's so many complications that still need to be unraveled, and it just ends. It's just kind of like there's legal things that need to happen, like multiple divorces need to go through for these couples to get together, but it's just kind of like we're all on the same page.
Don't worry about that.
Exactly. And I appreciate that about the movie. It's like, okay, we're done. We don't need to see the aftermath of this. So another fun 30s, more of a straight up comedy. And I think that is what we're in right now. And After the Thin Man, I think, is on HBO Max as well. So
beautiful.
Very fun to start right after The Thin Man.
Yeah.
Again, them departing the train.
After the Thin Man might actually be better. We might need to come back next year and do this. So
I know.
Because we were watching again and thinking, like, I think we might both like this one more.
They're both good.
They're both really good.
You rewatched the second as well?
We just started we're in the after we finish this, we're gonna keep watching. We just started the second one.
Well, that's a good holiday list.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it is. It's a good. I recommend it to you as well, Megan. I think you'd like it.
Oh, totally. I love I want to see San Francisco in film more. So it's so fun.
I can't remember if it's this movie, but one of these movies has them driving across the Bay Bridge before they had the part underneath the Bay Bridge. So it's two-way. It's just traffic is two-way on the top of it, and it's mind-blowing to see that as someone who's to drive that bridge as often as we all have, and to see like there's no lower part of it. So very cool.
I love it.
We did tease something in our last episode that I hope you can talk about, because you were describing that for cuisine for Christmas you lean more into your cultural heritage here. Can we hear a little bit about the dishes that will be served?
Well, it's very basic, honestly. Like every Christmas is tamales, and it has to be. There's a
Our Irish
we
eyes
actually
light up when you say basic and tamale.
Like, oh my God.
But we are fakers. Like we are we are smited because we buy our tamales every year. We just have
That's
never
all right.
had the tradition of like making them, but we get them from a really, really good I think it's literally called Mexico. Like it's just Mexico. It's a store in Newark. So good.
Okay.
We
Nice.
wait like in a line to get them. So it's like that good.
Okay.
Nice.
That's a good
So we
tradition. Waiting in a line for something is a great holiday tradition.
always have tamales, and then we will have enchiladas too, like different kinds, and that's basically it. Like those are our two like main contenders. They have to be on the menu basically.
Right.
So we do make the enchiladas, but tamales we haven't mastered yet. But
You get
we
like
buy
the
them.
red and green sauce to make it more Christmassy. Like, do you do both?
You're thinking enchiladas.
Enchiladas. Well,
We do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she makes enchiladas.
Oh,
That,
there
yeah.
No, we do.
Related.
We do.
Okay, very cool.
And then the spice level on one can be high, like of the sauce can be higher. We had a little faux pas
Very
last year and mixed up our spices and had a really, really spicy sauce. So that was funny. got my boyfriend to muster through eating one and like saying, "Oh, it's fine," because he's Mexican and he's profusely sweating. So that was fun. He's gonna be happy I called him out. But it was really fun.
Well, wonderful. We had to get these details out. Anne and I will be going to an Indian restaurant, I think. So
Yes.
there will be
For Christmas.
Yeah, for
Yes.
Christmas.
That was our move last year, and it was super solid. So
I promise
Oh,
we do
that's good.
cook, but this is going to be what we're doing this year.
How was
Yeah.
how was your Thanksgiving meal?
You know, it was honestly a little bit bland. I'm glad we did it because it was such a cool
Okay.
space. It was a really great old Art Deco building.
it's in a
Okay.
historical hotel, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. It was like, I had the like ice sculptures with the buffet,
Yeah.
and like
Yes.
the wait staff was all dressed up, but I was like, oh, this was not that great for the money, but I did it. I can check it off the list, and I cannot.
It's true.
Future,
Okay.
so
So the best
Yes.
part was I did get oysters. I think I had a dozen oysters.
Yes.
The strangest and worst part was they had duck breasts, which were both big into duck, and we have a conspiracy theory. At first, I thought you were being extreme, but I think you're right that they actually just served ham and called it duck.
in hindsight,
You're kidding.
I'm very sure it was actually duck, but they made it into the taste and texture of ham, and I don't understand why.
Why would you do that? I mean, like
Why would you do
it
that?
was jarring. It was like,
Wow.
yeah. So there was a few things like that too. Is like, and you appropriately pointed out, it's like I guess you have to take into account we have a 5-year-old here and we have an 85-year-old coming to this buffet.
That's what I was thinking.
So we've got to
Yeah.
have like a broad range of palate
Acceptable
using.
foods, yes.
But yeah,
It's
for the
ham aficionados.
I don't feel like I have. I feel like I'm know more about duck. And
Yes.
so
It's good, but I was
Ham is
looking
good.
forward to duck that
I was-
tasted like duck.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have to cook duck soon, I guess. So oh no.
Well, so it sounds like it was more of an atmospheric
Yeah,
delight.
it was
cute.
it was gorgeous. It was cute.
It's
It was
fun. We didn't have any dishes to do,
right.
which
Yes,
makes me very
that's
happy.
nice.
So there's
And
that part of it too.
It was also like sparse in that like we could sit pretty far from other people. It was not crowded.
Okay, good.
There was enough
Mhm.
buffet that like I was never waiting for something, you
And we were
know.
there, like,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah. So glad to have done it. Not going to do it next year.
Yes.
maybe go Indian
Okay.
food.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
yeah,
next year.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
you can
know
let me know how the Indian food is.
Yes,
Yes.
we will. Well, that we did last. That was really good. I'm excited. Maharaja.
Okay,
shout out.
good.
So
Yes, around the
For-
corner.
for the Milwaukee listeners, give that a try on the
Mm,
east side.
nice.
But I know people really come for the food talk, Megan. So gotta make sure you give them.
We're turning into a food podcast. Sis.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank you, Anne, for joining us once again.
Mhm.
Very happy to have you on the podcast. Thank you, Megan, for doing
Welcome.
the podcast.
You're welcome anytime. And like we always say, please come more and more.
Yes.
Sure.
We're still trying to get you to eventually become a full-time member of
That's
the podcast.
right.
Yes, your host one day. But
The frequency will
Mhm.
just increase.
exactly
Formula
until I'm
it's
gone.
just-
Yeah. It's just me.
We'll outlive Seth.
Statistically, you're more likely to. So.
No.
So we'll tease folks. I think the next episode we're going to do is going to be another best of year, or rather favorite movies we saw in 2022. So I look forward to a countdown of sorts from Megan and I.
I know. Got to get that list still, but I'm getting there.
I am struggling. It's there was too many good movies that I saw this year.
I'm gonna do top
Good.
3.
Oh, we're doing top 5. I actually tried to convince Megan to do top 10, but even that would have been really hard. I know that's too long of an episode. That's 20 movies total.
Oh my god. Yeah,
that's
I think even our last year one went long, so that was the only my editor's note was I was like, I don't know, Zeb.
Yeah. you made the right call, then talk me down from that. There's a lot of contenders, so I need to rewatch some stuff. But
well, I'm excited. I'm so excited to hear your list. And I just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season. I hope that it's going well for everyone. And of course, as we always say, like, please list your favorite holiday movie below. This was obviously an offbeat holiday movie. I mean, they touched on Christmas. It wasn't really about Christmas. So if you have any of those, or like comfort movies, I feel like are really good this time of year to like promote. So please let us know. We want to hear about those, definitely.
You know, Megan, when I suggested this, I thought this was going to be more traditional than Tokyo Godfathers, but this movie's a lot less about Christmas than Tokyo Godfathers. This is actually, it features it and it's in America, but it's much more removed. There's a Christmas tree. Yeah.
Oh, there is a beautiful one.
No one believes in the true meaning of Christmas in this.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's something to me about old movies and Christmas time. They just kind of go hand in hand. So
they do. I know what you mean.
That's what it is for me. So it felt it was a good way to ring in the season.
Old. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, folks, that'll do it for now. So happy holidays and thanks for listening.